The Outcasts, Chapter 2, Two Lost Souls. Bartender, I'll have another whiskey, said Elmer. Elmer, I believe you've had enough, said Ed, who's the bartender. No, I'm still good. Honey, why don't you go get Jake to take his pa home, said Ed. Yes, Dad, said Tay. She ran down to the farm. Why, hello, Tay. Is Elmer at it again? Said Elma. Yes, Elma. Where's Jake? Jake? Yes, Ma. You need to go fetch your pa before he gets involved in another brawl. He's not a spring chicken anymore. Yes, Ma. Hello, Tay. Hi, Jake. Come on. Tay and Jake ran to the village tavern. When they got there, Elmer was face to face with the village bully and two other guys. Pa, come on, we gotta go, said Jake. He's not going anywhere, are you, Elmer? Said Bamish. Son, I got this. This young whippersnapper needs to learn some respect to respect his elders. Pop, dead in the mouth. Elmer looked down and spat blood on the floor. Before Bamish could swing again, Jake walloped him good and sent him flying into a table with a crash. Bamish started getting up. You son of a... Stop! No fighting inside, said the bartender. Jake grabbed Bamish by the collar and dragged him outside and tossed him into the street. Jake, let's go home, son, said Elmer. No, like you said, Pa, he needs to learn. The other two guys jumped Jake from behind. He pulled one off and threw him to the ground. The other got him in the headlock, so Jake squatted, then jumped backwards, landing on his back on top of the guy, who then let go. Jake, you've lost your temper. You gotta stay calm in a fight. Strength's not everything. Let's go. Hold on a second. But Pa, I'll get the switch out if you don't mind me. Yes, sir. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad you stood up for me, for your pa. Tomorrow we're going to go see Helmsworth. He will train you in the right way on how to fight. You need to think ahead and anticipate the other's moves instead of just reacting. Is he any good to teach me? I mean, I'm an ogre. Helmsworth, son, he's been in many battles and wars. He's a real soldier, and he knows how to fight like a barbarian. Not many of them left in the world. The next day, Jake goes to Hemsworth with his pa. Welcome, Jake. You'll be my first ogre student ever. This should be fun. Fun? Said Jake. For me, it's been a while since I fought an ogre. I've fought many ogres in my day, but I've never had the privilege to train one. I'll make you into the greatest ogre fighter to have ever lived. Pa, is he joking? Of course I'm not joking. There are many soldiers and knights in the world nowadays, but the primal rage of an ogre barbarian, not so much. I'll train you as a fighter, but also as a barbarian. You'll have the advantage in battle, for not many still living have fought and could anticipate the fury you'll be able to unleash. I'll do my best, sir. I'm sure you will. Now, let's start out with a few attacks. I want to see what you can do. All day they fought. By the time Jake was done, he was too tired to eat. He just collapsed on his bed. He slept all the way until morning, and he woke up famished. As time went by, Jake had been having dreams about his real family. He mostly talked to Elma about them. Elmer was not interested in dreams. Dreams didn't put food on the table. One day, Jake wanted to clean out the storeroom to let his quote-unquote friend, Jossie, come and live, who was traveling from a faraway land. They couldn't figure out how he'd talk to her since he was either working at practice or with them. He hadn't received any letters. And then one day Jossie showed up, and everything Jake had told them was true. The rooster crowed, the smell of bacon frying, and biscuits in the oven. Breakfast, yelled Elma. Jake opened his eyes. Breakfast, Jake, Jossie, time to eat. Jake sat up in bed. He looked down at his enormous green toes. He put on his leather sandals he made himself, stood up and opened the door of his room that led outside, and walks out to the outhouse to take a leak. Then he goes through the front door of the house and straight to the kitchen table and sits down. Food is already on the table. Biscuits and gravy with sausage, bacon, eggs, milk, hash browns, grits, honey, and hot cakes with freshly churned butter and real maple syrup from the maple trees in Sam's orchard. Then Jossie comes and sits down. "That was the best sleep I've ever had on a bed," said Jossie. "You're quite welcome. It will be nice to be able to talk about womanly things for a change," said Elma. Elmer comes in and sits down. He prays over the food and they dig in. "After we clean up the dishes, you and I will go out to the garden," said Elma. "Where's Jake going after breakfast?" "He and Pa will be feeding the animals out in the barn." Jake and Elmer go straight to the barn. "I'm going to get that plow ready and take one of the oxen out to the field. Make sure all the animals are fed and then clean the barn. If any problems arise, let me know. And keep an ear out in case Jossie needs help," said Elmer. "Will do, Pa," said Jake. After feeding the animals, Jake starts cleaning the barn. Then he hears Elma yelling about something. "Ma, is something wrong?" "Yes, Miss Amberlin's horse, blind old thing, fell into the ditch and pulled the whole wagon over into it. I need you to go and get it pulled back out." "Is she okay?" "She will be the sooner you get over there. There's no one else who can help. All the men folk are working. You're all we've got. She's stuck under the wagon." "It rolled on top of her?" Yes, now hurry up." "Okay, Ma." Jake dropped what he was doing and ran down the road to the accident. He saw the wagon upside down and could hear Mrs. Amberlin talking to the horse as she was trapped underneath. The horse was still strapped to the wagon and couldn't get up. Jake reached down but couldn't get the horse free. It was in a panic and afraid of the big ogre. Stupid horse," said Jake. "Just break the straps." "Did you bring a knife, Jake?" said a voice from under the wagon. "Mrs. Amberlin, is that you?" "I'm fine, just break the straps." Jake pulled on the straps until they snapped. "I can make you another set if you like." "Don't worry about that, just get me out of here." The horse got up and ran away. Jake grabbed the wagon and flipped it over. Mrs. Amberlin sat up. The front of her dress and her face was full of dirt. I can breathe fresh air again." "Jake, you're the folk hero of this village. You know that? We all knew you to be a good-hearted, but no one knows where you came from. We waited for the ogres to show up claiming you, but they never did. There's something special about you, that's for sure. I can see it in your eyes, like flecks of gold." "My sister found me," Jake blurted out. He didn't know why he said that. She was just easy to talk to. "Don't tell Ma I told you that. She'll think I'm making up stories." "Your sister? Are you sure?" "Yes, but she's not an ogre. She grew up in a monastery." "That's strange. I'd like to meet her." "I'll pull your wagon to our house. You can clean up if you want. Jossie's in the garden with Ma." Jake grabbed the 2 wooden rods that the horse usually straps to and pulled the wagon with Mrs. Amberlin in it all the way back to the farm and up to the house. "What race is your sister?" "I don't know. She told me once, but it's a long word." "She's not an elf, is she?" "No, it was a long word." "I know what an elf is. She's almost as tall as me, but real thin and muscular." "Well, if you're an ogre, how could she be of another race? Unless she's mixed, or you two had different mothers." "I don't know, but we have this connection. She's got gold flecks in her eyes, too." "Really? How did you meet?" "It started back in the winter. I've been having a lot of vivid dreams." "Dreams of what?" "Places I've never seen before. But it's strange. In the dream, I'm a human, and so is Jossie. We both live in a castle. Our mom and dad are there." "Are they human too?" "Yeah. And I have a brother, but he looks like an elf. My sister talks to me, and sometimes I dream this evil woman and her daughter. But they always go into this room and are yelling at someone in there. It never goes beyond that." "Does your sister talk to you in the dream?" "Yes, things like, 'One day I'm going to find you,' or, 'Well, we'll find our parents.' Many times she asked me where I lived. One day she asked me to describe the stars above our house. There she is over there." She got out of the wagon and followed Jake. Jossie and Elma stopped working and looked up. "Jossie, stand up. Jake is bringing one of my friends," said Elma. "Hello, I'm Mrs. Amberlin, the school teacher here. You must be Jossie. I see you're a Githyanki." "Yes, I normally try to conceal myself. Some people are frightened by my race," said Jossie. "And with good reason. Githyanki are usually quite dangerous. But like Jake, you seem good-hearted. And you have his eyes, magical eyes. So I've been told. When I was in the old city, my friend Sandra told me the same thing. The old city? Does Sandra own the bookshop there? Yes, she does. Interesting. It seems fate has brought you two together. If I may ask, how did you find Jake, and why do you think he's your brother? Brother, said Elma. Well, I have this ability. I can search people out and talk to them when I visit them in their dreams. That's how I found him and the farm and this village. How many others have you searched out? Jake's the only one it's worked with so far. I've tried with our brother and parents, but they just ignore me, as if I'm not there, or they're just memories, illusions. Or perhaps they are out of range of your ability. My range is pretty far. I traveled hundreds of miles to come here from across the sea. That's not what I mean. I don't speak of this to just anyone. People around these parts are limited in their understanding and are very superstitious. So what I'm about to tell you should be kept secret, including your abilities. Do you all understand? Jake, Jossie, and Elma eagerly said yes. They may exist, but are way out of your range. What I mean to say is, it has nothing to do with distance, but rather dimension. They probably exist in another time, another world, or another plane. What do you mean? This is not the only world, the only planet, and it's definitely not the only plane of reality. There are many worlds and many planes, and many times. Not all the stars in the sky are stars. Some are worlds called planets. Just like in the garden, there are many potatoes, many tomatoes. Some look the same, but are not. Each one is different. That's why you cannot reach them. Then how will I ever find them? I have a good friend in one of the nearby towns. She owns a shop. I'll give Elma the address. Her name is Madame Zim. She can help you. If you need me, Elma knows where to find me. Go and see Madame Zim. She's very knowledgeable about these realities. The next day after breakfast, Jake, Elma is going into town. I want you and Jossie to go with her, said Elmer. You mean a town outside the village, said Jake. Yes. Listen here, son. You are to protect her. Do you understand? Yes, Paul. Now, she'll be carrying money, so keep an eye out for bandits. Yes, sir. Jossie? Hey, we're going into the next town, and there's a possibility of bandits. Bandits? I'll grab my stuff, said Jossie. She grabbed a quiver and backpack and went out to the wagon. Elma was putting money in a secret box under the wagon. Jossie, this is where we put our valuables, just in case we're attacked by bandits. This way they won't know where our money is at, said Elma. Jake was too big to sit up front, so he had to sit in the back. Jossie sat up front with Elma. It'll take about 3 hours to get there. It's almost all the way to Eastgate. I didn't tell Elmer where we were going exactly. To Madame Zim's? Said Jossie. Yes, Paul doesn't believe in abilities like yours. He calls anything magical hogwash. When they entered the town of Silver Springs, the street was filled with peddlers and shops, businesses and places to eat. They parked the wagon next to other empty wagons. There was a boy there watering the horses. Elma gave him a silver coin to take care of her horse and wagon. Ma? Yes, Jake? Why is everyone staring at us? Most people aren't used to seeing ogres in town. Usually they are only seen attacking settlements, much less one accompanying humans and wearing a shirt and overalls. They walk up to a shop that says, Madame Zim's Magic Shop. Is this a place for tricks? Said Jake. Yes, and much more. I'm not near as knowledgeable as Mrs. Amberlin, but she told me what to ask about. I wrote it down on this paper, said Elma. So they go in. May I help you? Said the clerk, a woman. Yes, I was told to seek out Madame Zim. Pertaining to what? Dreams, alternate planes of existence, and telepathy? Telepathy. Yes, one moment, please. The clerk went to the back to a room behind a curtain. There was a shadowy figure in there with horns and a long tail. We've got strangers looking for information on dreams and planes of existence. A human, an ogre, and a Githyanki. Well, how interesting. I'd better change, said the creature. The clerk returned. She will see you in the back, right through those curtains. Thank you. Come on, you two, and don't touch anything. I didn't bring enough money to pay for what you break, said Elma. They walked to the back and into a darkened room. A lady sat at the table with a glass ball in the center. She was much older than Elma. She could have been someone's grandma. "Please, sit down. What is it you'd like to know, exactly?" said Zim. "Jossie, tell her about your ability in your search," said Elma. "All right. Jake here is my brother." "Really? He doesn't look Yankee," said Zim. "But I could be mistaken." "Yes, we both had the same dreams of a place not here. Well, it looks similar to the old city, but not ran down. It's brand new, but not as advanced. It's hard to explain. In the dream, Jake and I are much younger. We have a father, mother, and a brother who is elf or part elf. But our parents and us are human. I've tried to make contact with them in the dream, but Jake is the only one who's ever responded. He told me his location here, and I sought him out. I told this to Mrs. Amberlin, and she said the others might be on another world or plane of existence. She gave us your address because this is beyond her knowledge. Do you think you can help us?" "I see. You both do have the same eyes. Sandra in the old city said it means we have an affinity for magic." "That is true, but that's not why. Lycans also have flecks of gold in their eyes. It means you're related to them, but it is thought they all perished long ago. Someone must have survived." "Yes, I've heard they were murdered by a lich." "Well, that's not necessarily true. That's what everyone says. I just happen to know a historian on the subject, but we'll get to that later. Now to your abilities. They are common among Yankee. If what your dreams say are true, the person who changed you overlooked this fact." "Person who changed us?" "Yes, your dreams are memories, but being a Yankee has dream abilities. If you were another race, say an elf, this would have never been possible." "You mean I'd never have found or talked to Jake?" "Exactly. You'd still be lost, as would Jake. The Githyanki were all wiped out. Another mistake she made. You see, the Githyanki were dream warriors. They fought wars in dreams and on the astral plane. I want you to take your left hand and hold Jake's right. Give me your right hand. Now, I'll see what the ball has to show us. This is what's called a crystal ball. I use it for scrying. I can see anyone, any place, anytime I want. But today we'll tap into your dreams. All of us will be able to see what you see. Jossie, I want you to close your eyes and focus on this place you mentioned. Let yourself fall asleep, but still awake so you can hear me. I will guide you around." The crystal ball clouded over, then it cleared up to show the inside of the castle. "I don't believe it. That's our home," said Jake. "Shh. Jossie, we can see your dream. That shadow to the left. Go towards it," said Zim. "It's a room. I've never seen it before," said Jossie. "I have. That's where the evil woman is," said Jake. "Go into the room. There is someone there," said Zim. She went inside. There were two females. One was arguing with the other prince. The younger female was about 7 years old, older than Jossie. Both had blonde hair. "Oh no," said Jake. "It is her." "The prince, reach out to him," said Zim. "Hello, what's your name?" said Jossie. "Stop, Zariel, just stop. We'll discuss this later." "Jossie, you know who I am," said the prince. "Then what's your name? I mean, I'm playing a game. How do you spell it?" "Eric. Eric? Yes, very good for a 2-year-old. You will grow up to be a smart girl one day." Then the dream faded. "Who is that? I've never seen him before," said Jake. "Me either. But he said I was 2 years old." So? "So I was 2 when I was found by the monks, which means you were 4. When I was found by Ma and Pa. This happened before we came here. I bet it was that evil lady. You both must be warned. The lady and her daughter are evil and very powerful. She must not know you're trying to find your way back," said Zim. "Who is she?" said Jake. "Eric called her Zariel," said Jossie. "Zariel? Tabitha, bring me the book on the 9 hells." She comes in with a book. "It says here that Zariel rules Avernus, the first layer of hell. She's an archdevil. She has bewitched the prince. The citadel on Avernus is where she lives. Her daughter is said to be half human and half demon." "A demon child," said Jake. Is there anything else you need? What world is that? Said Elma. It is this world, but in the distant past, before iron and technology existed. That is why it looked newer but less advanced. This was years ago, hundreds of years ago probably. Someone, and I would say Zariel, has banished you two here. The mere fact that you spoke with her, with the prince, means that he is here too, somewhere. This time period was before magic was banished, before the Lich took over the old city. The old city? Said Jake. Yes, that's where you're from. You two are Shamblins. Jossie, can you read? Yes, I have a book given to me by a dear friend, the historian. I can let you borrow it. It tells of things from that time period. He is a wizard by the name of Thomas. How much do we owe you? 25 gold coins. Elma went out to the wagon and got the money out of the secret box. A bandit watched her from across the street. Well, well, there must be a fortune locked up in that wagon. We should take it. I'll take care of the boy. We'll use one of our horses to make sure a fast getaway. Elma goes into the shop. Here's 25. Follow me. You'll need to be protected, said Zim. Protection from what? Said Jake. Zariel. You mean she can harm them from her world? Said Elma. Everything I've told you leads to a dangerous place, where not only Zariel is, but also monsters and demons. In order to banish both Jake and Jossie to this time and change the races, she would have to be very powerful. More powerful than just a witch, wizard, or sorceress. We're talking about demonic powers here. I can't protect you from here, but I can protect her from her I can protect them from her scrying. Scrying? Her ability to seek you out by using a crystal ball, like we just did. Also, if she banished them, she also banished the prince, so he too may not be human. Follow me. They walked back into the shop and down an aisle of books. They stopped, and Zim removed a book on cooking victuals. The shelf section pushed open. It was a secret door. She went in and brought out 4 amulets. Here are 2 amulets each. These will protect you from scrying. Once you find this Eric, bring him to me. This other amulet will let you name a place you've been, and it will transport you there. But be warned, if you've never seen your destination, you may end up lost or in the 9 hells because you died. Until you bring Eric to me, I can't know what other magic items you will need. A real magic item? Said Jake. How can Jossie bring you a man she's never even met? Said Elma. The same way she found Jake. Look, Elma, magic was banished from this land because of the Lich. Because people fear it, but it still exists. Thank you. You've been very helpful. Come along, children. Ma, I'm 16. I'm not a child, said Jake. If you were a man, you wouldn't be living at home. Now come on. They left the shop and headed for the wagon. But when they got to where it was supposed to be parked, it was gone. The horse was still tied up, but the boy was unconscious and on the ground. Oh no, the rest of our money, said Elma. Jake was very upset and began to pound his fist. People were afraid that were walking past. What will we do now? Jake, stay here with Elma, said Jossie. Where are you going? He said. I'm going to use the amulet to find the wagon. Huh? Pop! She disappeared. Jossie appeared in the back of the wagon. There were 2 bandits up front. She used an unarmed strike from behind the passenger and knocked him off the wagon. The driver turned around and dropped the reins. He reached for his weapon. Jossie hits him, and he falls out of the wagon. She jumps in the front seat and halts the horses. Then she jumps out and runs back to the bandits. Both are dazed, and one is helping the other up. She strings 2 arrows and lets them fly. Both arrows catch them both in the throat, and they fall over, gasping for air as they die. She loots them and finds 50 gold coins. Then she takes back her arrows. I need to cast a return spell on these arrows, and a heat metal spell as well. She gets back in the wagon and heads back to town. Meanwhile, I hope she's all right, said Elma. She's been trained to fight since she was 2, Ma. She's fine, said Jake. She's just a child. No, she's 14. Look, I believe that's her. Jossie pulled up to them. Are you all right? Are you hurt? Who were they? Where are they? Said Elma. They're dead. I'll drive. Hop in, Jake. Listen to what this book says. Barbarians. A tall human tribesman strides through a blizzard, draped in fur and hefting his axe. He laughs as he charges toward the frost giant, who dared poke his people's elk herd. Or, here's another one. A half-orc snarls at the latest challenger to her authority over their savage tribe, ready to break his neck with her bare hands as she did the last 6 rivals. Frothing from the mouth, a dwarf slams his helmet into the face of his drow foe, then turns to drive his armored elbow into the gut of another. These are barbarians, different as they may be, are defined by their rage, unbridled, unquenchable, and unthinking fury. More than an emotion, their anger is the ferocity of a cornered predator and the unrelenting assault of a storm. A barbarian is a protector of the people, a leader in times of war. This is you, Jake. Your instructor should be teaching you how to fight using your rage. You have strength and power, and you're larger than anyone I've ever seen. I'd say you're over 8 feet tall if I had to guess. Where are we going, Jossie? Said Alma. This is a shortcut, through the forest. But there's danger in the forest. That's why we go around. Look, Jake and I need the practice. As they traveled, they could hear yelling in a strange language. Orcs, said Jake. They stop and get out. There are 4 of them, plus their leader. I don't have a weapon, said Jake. Here, take my sword. I'll use my bow. Elma, get inside the box. Now. Oh, dear. The leader was an orc eye of Grumsh, or whatever that is, with ringmail, armor, and a shield carrying a spear. The other 4 orcs each carried a javelin and a great axe. We can't take on all of them, said Jake. You're right. We need to divide them. Pull up that stump and toss it into that mass of dead trees. It'll cause an awful noise. When they run to see what it was, we'll attack them from behind. Or whoever stays behind. Okay. Jake used his ogre strength and pulled the stump out of the ground. He lifted it above his head. Dirt fell on his head. He threw it crashing into the trees, tearing some of the trees down. It hit the ground. Boom. All 4 orcs ran in its direction, leaving their leader to his lonesome. Charge him while I pelt him with arrows. Jossie let go of an arrow. Jake races toward him. The orc feels something fly past. He turns his back toward Jake to see what it was. Jake charges him and takes him unawares and cuts his back with Jossie's silver sword. He turns and roars at Jake. Jake laughs at him. Jossie pulls out another arrow and shoots him in the back. Meanwhile, the other 4 orcs find the stump. Jake grips the sword with both hands and cuts off the orc leader's head. Jossie uses Misty Step to teleport next to Jake. Huh? I didn't even hear you coming. I need my sword. They're coming back. Use his weapons. Jake picks up the orc's shield and spear. The other 4 orcs are running toward them. Jossie strings up 4 arrows. Once I let go, you attack the closest one while I switch to my sword. Gotcha. Elmo crawled out of the box and sat under the wagon watching the battle. All of Jossie's arrows hit except one. Jake threw the spear past Jossie's head and into the orc's face and out the other side. Skewered. Jake runs up in front of her. The second orc hits Jake with his great axe across the chest, and Jake falls. Jake, move over and let me take the next one so you don't die. Elma gets out from under the wagon, not knowing what to do. The next orc hits Jossie. She falls to the ground. Jake sees her fall and gets upset and goes into a rage. He balls up his fists and slams the orc with both. He smashes his dead as the orc guts drop from between both of his fists. The other 2 attack him. He dodges one but gets knocked to the ground by the other. He gets up on one knee and punches both at once, killing them both by slamming their heads together until they're pulp. Elma runs over to them. Can you stand up? Said Elma. Yes, gather their weapons. I'll carry Jossie to the wagon. Jake kept one of the great axes for himself. Don't tell Paul anything about our trip, especially the battle with the orcs. What about the bandits? That would be a great story to tell. He'd be more trusting of Jossie. You'll need to wash the blood off these weapons as soon as we get back. What about the book? I'll tell him we have it because it tells about your races. He won't read it, but he may ask about it. The story about the bandits will explain the extra horse. He can sell it for money. I think I'll stop there. Oh, no, we're almost to the end. Okay. On the way home, Jossie woke up and stopped them. She used her staff of healing to heal them. Then they saw Elmer waiting for them once they got home. Well, she's not in the greatest shape. We'll sell her to make up for the money spent on the trip, said Elmer. The book is important to them, but it's borrowed. So it's for Jake and Jossie? Yes, they are growing up, aren't they? They're not children anymore, Elma. I was on my own at Jake's age. Both my sisters were married by the time they were 15. We can't baby them. We need to treat them as responsible citizens. I'll go start supper. At the supper table. So, how did the trip go, son? Great. I found some weapons. And I got a book, said Jossie. So I've heard. I hope it answers all your questions. Did you run into any trouble? Yes, 2 bandits stole our wagon, but I got it back, said Jossie. Did they get away? Yeah, sorry. At least you're safe. Bandits can be dangerous. That night, Jossie dreamed of her past. You need to leave your family, said Zariel. I'm not leaving them. I'm next on the throne, said Eric. I'm warning you, if you don't do as I say, I'll send you to a place where no one will like you. A dangerous place where you'll be hated and killed. What, prison? Worse. Oh, Jossie, how long have you been standing there? Mom, I need to talk to you, said Zethra. We'll talk about this later. Come on, Zethra, we're leaving. But Mom, you promised I could have him. Shh, not here. Let's go. Okay, Jossie, what is it? Do you know this is a dream? What do you mean? This is just a memory. Hold my hand and let me take you to my life. Okay, I'll play your game for now. But I've only got 2 hours, then I need to get some sleep. He grabbed her hand and their surroundings switched to the monastery. You look like a gift. Why? I don't know. Something happened to Jake and I. That doesn't make any sense. Who could do that? We don't know who we are anymore. I can't even remember my dad's name. Jamie is your dad. I'm your uncle. Who is that mean lady? This must be a dream. It is. I'm going to find you. Where do you live? I think I'm going nuts. The dream faded and Jossie woke up. Rats!